Congressman Barr is en route. Congressman Barr will be here about 9:15. We're going to go ahead and start our agenda, move forward. When Congressman Barr gets here, we'll push pause, do the special announcement, and then rejoin our agenda. Greatly appreciate everybody being here. There's a lot of work that goes into these type of grants and a lot of consideration that goes into these type of grants, and just very grateful for the opportunity. So if you would join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So with that said, we will call the roll, and then we need to consider making a motion to make Kara Oliver our court clerk alternate. So would we go ahead and make that motion in a second? Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
With that said, Ms. Oliver, you can't leave now. Will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hostetler?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Wallace? Mr. Corman?
Present.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Pratt?
Here.
Mr. Livingston? Mr. Culbertson?
Here.
And Judge Covington.
So Mr. Livingston is with us virtually. Good morning to everybody, as I said earlier. And first item to consider is the minutes from our 425 and 5-1 meeting. The 425 was a special call. Any questions or comments from those minutes as presented?
No question other than, do we need to do those separately?
I think we can do them together.
Motion.
Motion, second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Rob and Rick. With that, then, number 6, transfers as presented in your packet. Any questions? Would there be a motion? Motion. Second for Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks as presented. Questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion. So I hear a second from Mr. Livingston?
Yes. Second.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. Let the record reflect that Master Ellison completed his training unit hours. Let's give him a big hand there. Always an overachiever. Appreciate it. Number 9, let the record reflect sheriff's fees in the amount of $79,609.57 was submitted by Sheriff Tony Hampton, and clerk fees in the amount of $129,669.35 were submitted on behalf of Rebecca Johnson, County Clerk. That leads us to number 10, library board appointments. And there are 2 recommendations for 2 open spots. One is the name of Christy Robinson to be considered. And then the other recommendation is for the other spot is for Julie McKee. Questions or comments?
I'd make a motion to accept both.
All right. We have a motion and a second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments?
Just a quick comment, Judge.
Yes, sir.
I know we looked it up earlier, so it looks like Miss Robinson's, this will be her second term, and I think they can do 2 terms.
I think that's correct.
And then Mr. Wright must be at the end of his second term in June. So
Stepping out.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So Miss McKee.
Yes.
Anyhow.
I appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on down, we have an ordinance 2403, first reading to unbudgeted receipt that we need to to document. So I'll let Cam read that.
All right. Ordinance 2403, Scott County Fiscal Court. An ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof, whereas Scott County, Kentucky has realized unbudgeted receipts, be it ordained by Scott County of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, current fiscal year 2023-2024. The budget for the current fiscal year is amended to increase/decrease the receipts of the following funds to include unbudgeted receipts from A, revenues, general fund, account 014704, surplus sales, in the amount of $203,378.19. So total amended revenues are $203,378.19. Appropriations from the general fund, fire office supplies, $12,000. From the general fund, fire special projects, $54,292. From the general fund, fire machinery and equipment, $52,794.19. From the general fund, fire vehicle maintenance and repairs, $30,000. And from the general fund, fire vehicles, $54,292. So total amended expenditures are $203,378.19. Section 2, the amounts adjusting the receipt and expenditure accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. The first reading is today, May the 10th, 2024.
Questions or comments? This is all related to Engine 11 in the surplus.
Sale of it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Motion?
Motion. Second for Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on, Resolution 2411, Road Aid Agreement.
Alrighty. Resolution 2411, Fiscal Court of Scott County. Resolution adopting and approving the execution of a county road aid co-op program contract between the Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statutes, and accepting all roads and streets referred to therein as being a part of the county road system. Be it resolved by the Fiscal Court that the Fiscal Court does hereby accept all roads and streets referred to in said contract as being a part of the Scott County road system, and the Fiscal Court does hereby ratify and adopt all statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said contract, and does hereby accept said contract, and by such acceptance agrees to all the terms and conditions therein stated. And the county judge executive of the county is hereby authorized and directed to sign said contract as set forth on behalf of the Fiscal Court, Scott County, and the county clerk of Scott County is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto.
Questions or comments? Would there be a motion?
Motion.
Motion for Mr. Corman. Second for Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. It's going to lead us to number 13, Resolution 2412, Cannabis Business Operations. We had an interlocal meeting with the city not too long ago, and this was brought up in discussion. We've shared information about this. I've watched a couple of seminars with Keiko online, trying to just make sure we've got our head wrapped around this. What I believe is the appropriate thing is to have this resolution that would put it on the ballot for November. It'd be a question for our community to decide if they want cannabis business to operate in Scott County. And that's what the resolution would do. Wanted to, from my email I shared, what your, if the voters wanted to allow cannabis business to operate within Scott County, then you can't pick and choose. There's 5 areas that comes in that under the type of business. All of this is highly regulated by the state, and all of it has oversight from the state level. But what we're talking about is cultivator, processor, producer, a safety compliance facility, or a dispensary. I want to speak about dispensary. we are not guaranteed to have a dispensary, even if we allow and pass that we want the business in Scott County. There are 2 guaranteed spots in Lexington, and then at least 2 in Louisville. I believe maybe more, but we need to get that clarified. Then we are part of a region, and the region would be, considered for applications. They will look at those applications individually, then make decisions. And then, that's the big picture of this. But we feel like it's appropriate to move forward and make this, in my opinion, a decision for our community to vote on. Questions or comments?
Just have a comment. I know Rick was on it yesterday. I think Kelly was as well, and Rob. Kentucky Association of Magistrates Commissioners, J.C. Young, had a webinar virtually yesterday, and they had the head of the Kentucky Medical Canvas on there, and he explained a lot of it. He's going to get the presentation out. So I also agree that we should let the voters vote on it and take it from there. It's very informative. So
That was 9 a.m. yesterday, wasn't it?
9 a.m. yesterday. Yeah, we were on.
And I was on at 2 yesterday.
Yeah, so he did a great job explaining that process.
Same guy.
So
Were you on it too, Cam?
I was on the 2 o'clock one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
it was helpful. Yeah.
it's very helpful. And he's
There's
gonna,
a
if
Keiko,
anybody
like,
wasn't on
resource
there,
page.
they're going to get us the PowerPoint. We can send it out as well. So it outlined a lot of the steps that have to happen. So
Yeah.
The one thing I thought I heard was, once it's passed and a business opens, we can't take it away.
That's my understanding. Now, between now and my hope is between now and September, we will work, and planning and zoning will work to put forward an ordinance that says when, what times. Anything else you want to add on that?
That's, yeah.
When, where, and
Time, place, and manner.
Time, place, and manner. But that's a separate, that's a separate consideration, and there's already a lot of regulations on that as well. We're not going to have.
at the most we could have one.
Correct.
And it's very restrictive with the school and daycare. I mean, I looked at that map. They have a map on their website where you can go and see where it's
Yeah,
restricted
can't be
from.
within
I mean, there's not even,
Yeah.
1,000 feet from schools, or daycares.
Yeah.
So it's very restrictive of even where you can have one, and there's not a whole lot of places even in Scott County to have one.
The KRS is an effort. I think there's a real effort to make it not the wild, wild west, and it's going to be regulated, oversight. It's going to be limited here to start to make it roll out the right way. Any other questions or comments? One thing that I do want that we need to get clarification on is we're going to put this on the ballot. The city intends on Monday as well. So for all intents and purposes, the city could vote and vote in favor, and the county could, for whatever, if they voted no, then the city could be, it could be business allowed in the city and not the county, or the other way around, or not in both, or businesses allowed in both. So
That's going to get confusing.
It's going to be confusing. And my question is if the county only puts it on, then does that cover the whole county?
Well,
We need to get that answered, but
yeah, I think there was a boatload of information in an hour-long session. It was actually good. And in my view, any of that can be condensed or whatever to be put on the Facebook page or any kind of social media to get it out to the public, because I think if the court decides to put it on the ballot, but I think if the county votes for it, that overrides any of the cities. I could be wrong about that. There was a lot of information.
Somebody asked that question on the 9 a.m. one yesterday, and I can't remember.
I understood what Rick was saying. That's the way I understood it.
It might have.
But
Somebody asked
we
that
got to get
specific
clarification. When we do, we need to get that out.
Well, I thought he was saying the city could potentially opt in while the county opts out. So,
Well,
but I don't know. That's what I heard.
It could have been. Now, I was not able to be on the 2 o'clock one. I
I was
wanted
the
to
same
be.
guy, though, I think.
No,
Did the president
Rich,
not?
was Rich on
Rich
that?
was on there briefly, yeah.
Well,
And-
so it was,
And that is correct. The city can opt in even if the
Okay.
county opts out.
Yeah.
so then
Thanks,
we might have heard it wrong.
God.
David, thank you. So with that said, let's read this resolution, then we consider it, and then I'm going to adjourn our meeting for just temporarily. Our special guest has arrived, and we'll move from there.
All right, Scott County Fiscal Court Resolution Number 24-12, a resolution authorizing a referendum to determine whether cannabis business operations may occur in the County of Scott. Whereas on April 15, 2024, the Kentucky General Assembly adopted House Bill 829, signed into law by the Governor on April 17, 2024, amending KRS Chapter 218B, the Kentucky Medical Cannabis Chapter, and whereas KRS 218B 130 authorizes local governments to pass resolutions directing that the question of prohibiting cannabis businesses from operating within its territory be submitted to the voters of its territory at the next regular election. And whereas the County of Scott wishes to utilize the authority granted to it by KRS 218B 130 to direct that the question of prohibiting cannabis businesses from operating within the County of Scott be submitted to the voters of the County of Scott at the next regular election. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of County of Scott, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, Definitions. The definition within KRS 218B 010 are hereby adopted as if set out herein and as relevant to this resolution. Section 2, Cannabis Business Referendum Authorized. Pursuant to KRS 218B 130 2A2 and KRS 218B 130 3B, the Scott County Fiscal Court hereby resolves that the question of prohibiting cannabis businesses from operating within the County of Scott be submitted to the voters of the County of Scott at the next regular election in accordance with the language in KRS 218B 130 3B. Section 3, Effective Date. This resolution shall be effective upon its enactment by the Scott County Fiscal Court this 10th day of May, 2024.
And just to clarify, the language that's on the ballot is straight from KRS.
That's correct.
There is no, it has to be exactly as read right there. So, questions or comments?
I'll make a motion, put it on the ballot.
Motion, second. Mr. Jones, any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll clarify, get some more information. We're going to adjourn our meeting agenda for right now and welcome our special guest, Congressman Andy Barr. Let's give him a hand for being here. And Congressman, before you start, I just want to say thank you very, very much. We are so grateful for your leadership, and just what strikes me about your leadership is you stay connected to the district, to the Commonwealth, and to our communities. And you listen. You're always there when we need your ear, and we greatly appreciate what you do day in and day out and being an advocate for us. I want to thank your staff, the tremendous work that goes in from your staff. You have Class A staff with Mackenzie, Todd Poe, Stephen Marks, and Tatum are all here. Let's give them a hand. I want to recognize Mayor Wagner's here, and he's going to speak after you do, Congressman, and then appreciate your leadership, Mayor. We have, I don't know if Mayor Jenkins is here, but we have a couple folks from our city council, Alonzo for sure, and then Chase Azevedo, board chair Les Jarvis, and also board member Lewis Wolf is here from GMWSS. Appreciate you all being here. This is a true team effort. I also want to recognize Superintendent Billy Parker, always, just a great partner in our community. And I want to thank the magistrates for their leadership and willingness to, make this decision to help us make this application and then authorize the match from it. So, Congressman, thank you again, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, Judge Covington, thank you for the honor of joining your fiscal court meeting, and apologize for interrupting your regular business, but it's nice of you all to accommodate me while I'm back in the district, and it's good to be in Scott County and not in Washington, D.C. right now. Mayor Wagner, great to see you, and to all the folks in Sadieville for coming up and being a partner with the Scott County Fiscal Court on this endeavor. Good to have the superintendent here and the school system represented, and all of our great magistrates here. Nice to be with you all today, and all the other dignitaries from Scott County. This is a fun announcement, a great announcement, because Scott County is a massively, rapidly growing county in the Commonwealth, but with that growth comes growing pains, and one of those areas that's a bit neglected in all of that growth is northern Scott County. The infrastructure there needs to catch up, and the beautiful city of Sadieville is part of that, and the northern Scott County interchange with I-75 is an area of huge potential growth. So we worked with Mayor Wagoner, with Chase Azevedo, and also with Judge Covington and the fiscal court here to go in on an application in the appropriations process to start what will be a very long process, a multi-stage process that could cost a total up to $35 million. But we need to get the ball rolling, and so we were able to secure $1.75 million in the just recently passed and enacted appropriations bill from the EPA, a grant for planning and design funds used toward pre-construction items, including planning, survey, design, permitting, easement, property acquisition, legal, and funding support services. This is the first step, as I say, in an estimated $35 million long-term project to improve the sanitary sewer capacity in northern Scott County. These funds will jumpstart the process. The work enabled by this funding will lay the foundation for future sanitary sewer improvements in the US 25 corridor between Georgetown and Sadieville. The work will also provide sewer master planning for part of the Northwest Bypass in Georgetown and Scott County. The current customers located in the project corridor include the City of Sadieville, Mallard Point, Harbor Village, and Westwood. And in addition to the current customers that will benefit, this work will allow expansion into Sadieville. Obviously, there's interest in economic expansion, both commercial and residential in Sadieville, and this project is necessary to accommodate long-term growth. And obviously, also, we want to see that development off the interstate in northern Scott County as well. So thanks for the collaboration. Judge, you're exactly right. This is a big partnership. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff as well. Tatum Dale, my district director, and today's a special day, Mayor, because it's Tatum's birthday as well. So, happy birthday, Tatum. Mackenzie Todd Poe, thank you for recognizing Mackenzie. She's terrific. So for anyone who doesn't know Mackenzie here in Scott County, Mackenzie does all of our economic development work, projects, grant. She provides technical assistance. She can do research for you all. And then she's very instrumental in this process, working with the Appropriations Committee to get, and working with our DC staff to get these projects in the appropriations bill. And finally, Stephen Marks over here. Stephen is our field representative. He is here on the second Monday every month minimum, but he's here more than that a lot. He is my representative, my eyes and ears in Scott County, Georgetown, Sadieville, stamping ground. Anywhere you need him, he'll be there for you. So thanks a lot. Appreciate the leadership of the mayor, the judge, the fiscal court, the city council. This is one step in a long process, but we got to take this first step, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Thank you so much. Mayor Wagner, do you have a few things to share?
I do. I just want to say thank you on behalf of our constituents there and your constituents in Sadieville. We are poised right now we just opened up a new grocery store at our exit, as you're aware of. We are poised for great growth. The community has to go north. There's really no more room south. And we've got thousands of acres up there to build on. So our exit is the only really undeveloped exit between Cincinnati and Knoxville. And, I really only have 2 property owners to deal with in that area as far as right at that exit. I thank the judge. I thank our magistrate, Rick Hochstetler, and I thank all of you folks sitting at this table. And Congressman, I thank you. This is a first step in a long, arduous task, as I know, but we need sewer to go forward, and hey, dollars make it happen, okay? And on behalf of my commission, I thank you for making that possible for us in this first step, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. And Chase Azevedo, could you share just a few things? And I just want to comment, Chase was a very big part of this application, and appreciate his professionalism and his work, and then the partnership with GMWSS. And as Congressman Barr said, this is just a first step, and as Mayor said as well, of addressing the issue of capacity there with Northern Scott County. Chase?
Thank you, Judge. I hate to say I'm going to be redundant at this point, but I am very pleased, and on behalf of Georgetown Municipal, that we have this opportunity here today to express our gratitude, Congressman Barr, for you securing this funding on this endeavor, like we've all just talked about. I'd also be remiss if I didn't recognize Judge Covington, Mayor Wagner, Mayor Jenkins, who couldn't be here, but you all hear me say it all the time, same team. We're all looking out for the best interest of our constituents, our customers, our residents and businesses here. So very pleased to be here. And I did already announce and recognize, but 2 of our hardworking commissioners, Commissioner Wolf, Commissioner Jarvis of our Board of Directors at Georgetown Municipal, and I think they echo and share my appreciation. So the one thing I'll bring up that hasn't already been discussed is today's announcement. It builds on prior support that we've received from Congressman Barr. Just 2 years ago, we received $5 million that Congressman Barr secured for us through the Community Projects Fund for our wastewater treatment plant number 1 upgrade and expansion. And we all know this project has put up a fight. It's near been the end of me, but when we get, as Mayor Wagner said, the dollars help everything. And when we received that grant funding, that allowed us to continue the project and move forward. So as we are in the home stretch of that project, that will be an asset to the community for years to come, we're nearing beneficial use of that project. Then we can turn our focus and our attention and our effort to the other list of however many number 1 priorities, and expanded service to Sadieville and Northern Scott County expanded sewer services, one of those many top priorities. We've got a list of number 1 priorities. So we recognize the need for expanded service in this area. We already have the property owners, the developers knocking on our door saying, when's this going to happen? And we know that it needs to happen. And this is a great area for commercial and residential growth, both of which we need. And we're happy that this project will help facilitate that planned growth that we all want. Expansion of sewer infrastructure, as we all know, it is not cheap, and it does not happen overnight. This funding, it helps get the ball rolling. It's the catalyst. So we're very excited. This lays the groundwork for us to all realize this long-term vision for Northern Scott County, between Georgetown up to Sadieville. That's that US 25 corridor. And we know it's pushing that way as we're also looking at the completion of the Northwest Bypass and the properties there. So Congressman Barr, Fiscal Court Judge, Mayor Wagner, we appreciate your all's continued support, and we're just happy to be here, and that we share this vision that we want to provide this infrastructure that's vital, and we want to do it in the most low-cost manner we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase. Just want to say again, Congressman, thank you. Could we get a picture together with all of us? And
Nice to meet you.
Now, before he slips out the door, I do want to say one thing. That guy right there, Jack Connor, works so much on economic development for Scott County. This will be one of the, once we get this done, it'll be an asset that he will be able to try to help expand out in northern Scott County. Jack, appreciate all the work you did. All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Now back to the regularly scheduled programming.
Guys, we got a detention center surplus to do.
Got to hear the good stuff.
Home incarceration service is good. There you go.
Thanks. Look forward to stuff there. See you soon.
No, they don't want to see the detention center surplus.
All right.
$5 million announcement, all right.
Yeah. Thank you all. So we'll bring this back in to our agenda, and the next item is 14, detention center surplus. That's one vehicle. It's a Ford Explorer 214, and if you know that it's being surplus from the jail, you know it's at the end of its useful life. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion.
Motion second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Detention, let's got that. Home incarceration service bid. All I'm asking you is to authorize myself. I'm working with Cam and, of course, Jailer Broyles. We're going to put out a new bid for that service. All you're authorizing is us to put it out to bid. Questions or comments about that? Motion. Second. Second was from Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then 16, Isaiah House agreement renewal. Cam, the only thing that I would like to strike from the previous agreement is that when they moved into when we did this, we paid for
Half of the remodel.
Yeah, so
Some of that stuff's not, it's kind of moot now.
yeah,
It's
if
done.
we could strike that,
Yeah.
and then everything else is. I've talked to Mr. Privet, and they certainly are eager to continue the relationship, and I think it's very appropriate. Questions or comments?
That was,
And would there be a motion to approve striking that
I'll make the
section?
motion, but that's item 4, I think, that you're talking about, Judge.
Okay.
Renovation expense reimbursement.
Next page.
Yeah.
Item
I
4.
s-
Yeah, we'll make those. And then the other question I had was, you want it for a 2-year term? I think that's what it currently says.
No, it needs to be a 2-year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what this first one was.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're coming up to the end of this, I think,
Yeah.
in July.
Yes,
Yeah.
Could we get them in here to give us an update?
sure can invite him back in, yes. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Motion,
Second.
second from Mr. Corman. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Ms. Tudor, how are you?
Hey, Judge,
Well-
one quick question, back to, so will that start again? Because I was just reading it. This agreement we have now ends on July 28th. Will it start
It'll start new on,
that? Okay.
On that
just,
date.
Just checking. Thank
All
you.
right.
Sorry for the interruption.
so in consideration of our new budget, we always share information from local nonprofits that make requests. Quite often, they will reach out to you all as well. But Kelly Corman, you made mention last week that it might be good to hear directly from Ms. Tudor in Unexpected Blessings Adoptions. So we're welcoming you here, and if you could share a few things about your agency and what you all do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Judge Covington and magistrates, for allowing me to come and to speak in front of you this morning. My name is Caitlin Tudor. I'm the founder and executive director of Unexpected Blessings Adoption and Foundation. We are technically two separate entities. Our adoption agency was founded 6 years ago. We are a small domestic private adoption agency here in Georgetown. We do facilitate the private adoption process between expectant mothers, birth parents, and adoptive parents. However, as our work grew and our knowledge expanded and our experience expanded, it became very clear that our nonprofit arm, which is our foundation, is very needed to fill the gap between what we are allowed to do with private adoption. There's a lot of restrictions, particularly when it comes to the financial support, resources, trying to help expectant moms, particularly when they're in pregnancy crisis. First and foremost, we are not a pregnancy center. Pregnancy centers have a very distinct job, function, and role in our communities. Not Alone Pregnancy is a wonderful organization. It has done a lot of good things in our community, but there's a lot more that can be done, and they are a little bit more limited in what they do. My background is nursing, case management with a master's in law. I love helping people on a holistic level and trying to make sure that all of their needs are met. So one of the biggest things that we do through the foundation is making sure that expectant moms have access to birth mom mentors. We have two, one of which is here in Georgetown locally, and then we have one in Lexington, both of whom have placed children for adoption. And if you were to ever meet them in person or even go to our website and look at their videos, it can be a very lonely journey for them to go through this process. That is one of the most resounding feedback that we get from moms who place, is that there's nobody to talk to. So that's one thing that we try to make sure is always available to expectant moms when they're in crisis and they're trying to figure out if parenting is the right option for them, is to make sure that they have a sounding board that has actually been through that process, who has made that decision. The next thing that we can do is offer counseling within our community. We do not have counselors on staff, but we contract with counselors in the community to meet those needs, whatever that may look like. That is free of charge. Everything we do is free of charge for our expectant moms and our birth parents. We want them to be educated. We want them to be well informed. We want them to feel like they matter, that they're respected, and that they're loved. Unfortunately, there is a big stigma around adoption and parents who choose not to parent, and that's ultimately not acceptable. So we're trying to help them to understand that it is okay to question whether or not parenting a child is the right choice for them. With that being said, we all know that when parenting doesn't go well, that children typically end up in some capacity in the foster care system. Children don't deserve to be there. They don't belong there. And anything we can do to try to keep them out of the foster care system is a win. So this is one way to help prevent kids from going into our foster system. One of the programs that I'm extremely proud of is several years ago, actually, I went to Jailer Broyles and inquired about starting a program at the Scott County Jail. Obviously, no one can be coerced, forced, anything when it comes to this process. However, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to who we are, what we can do, what parents' options are in the community. So over time, we were able to develop a program in which if a pregnant inmate is willing to talk to us, we can come in, we can speak with them, we can tell them who we are, what we can offer, what their options are, and we can offer counseling within the jail. Again, that is no cost to the inmate, the state, anybody. That is something that we would provide cost-wise. We do have one particular counselor locally who is willing to do that, to actually go into the jails and perform that service for us. If we need to go outside to other opportunities, we can do that. However, this particular counselor has some availability that a lot of counselors don't have, and that is one of the biggest issues. If you know mental health issues across the board, is accessibility to care is an issue. So knowing that we have a counselor who is ready and willing to go into the jail is really, really important for us and to potential clients. The next thing that we are actively working on is putting together a community baby shower. We were actually part of one up in Northern Kentucky a couple of weeks ago. It was an incredible success. It brought together lots of vendors in the local community that were able to come together in one source and offer resources to pregnant moms, to families with young children. It's something that I feel like, and a lot of people in our community feel like resources aren't readily known and readily made available. Like there's lots of resources, but they're not all known, all in one location. So bringing those resources together, making that available to our community, to our families, is really important to me. Again, education is fundamental and foundational to what we do and ultimately what we need to be able to offer our people in our community. So with that being said, yes, adoption is our ultimate goal. If a parent cannot adequately parent, doesn't have the resources, doesn't have the support, if you're a parent, you know that parenting takes a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources, and it truly takes a village to raise a family. A lot of our expectant moms don't have that. They don't have their own family. They don't have those resources. They don't have that support. What would funding do for us? We didn't ask for a lot. We asked for $6,500. That would allow us to serve up to roughly 10 moms. Each of our moms roughly is $500. That includes if we were to pay for a utility bill, if they've had something either shut off or imminently being threatened to be cut off. We have done that before. If they have no food in the house, we have provided that before. If they don't have transportation to appointments, we have provided that before. If they haven't established prenatal care, then we help coordinate that. We try to make sure that mom and baby are well taken care of and that they maintain health through the pregnancy. I'm trying to think what else we've done. Even just talking, like that's a huge thing. I do a lot of talking with a lot of people and just being an ear to be there for people. We hope to continue to grow. Obviously, Scott County is our home. This is where we started. This is where I live. This is where my husband and I have raised our family and continue to raise our family. It's important for me and for our organization to have the support of our community. This is the first time that we've really been able to present to the county, and this is really important for us. So is it a huge ask? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know the budget. But for us, it would be absolutely paramount to us to be able to do what we're trying to accomplish and what we have so far been able to accomplish.
One question I had, Caitlin,
Sure.
Is coordination. What can you and what can't you do with young mothers, expectant mothers? Do you coordinate any with secondary schools at all? Is that do they share any information?
So I have repeatedly attempted to get a program established. Superintendent Parker was very kind in connecting me with the correct people, with the family resource centers within the schools. I have met with them. I've met with the director. I've met with the case managers. High school, obviously, is probably the most targeted schools within our community. I have met resistance with the individual counselors to be able to actually go in and speak directly to them. There is an unspoken boundary that people sometimes feel like allowing us to come in and directly talk with pregnant teens. There isn't a legal boundary, but there is a presumed boundary that I'm still trying to break through.
Okay.
So it is a work in progress.
Okay.
It has not been completely fulfilled, but it remains a work in progress.
Thank you. What questions or any other questions that you all might have?
How many mothers do you help a year? Just, I mean, I know it changes. It's very variable. Just
It does. Since we had started 2 years ago with the foundation, it's averaging about 8 to 10. However, we've already helped, I think, 3 this year. So we're hoping to, obviously, through the community baby shower, make sure that we are known, that we're available, and what we can do.
Okay. There's no other questions, and we really appreciate you coming and sharing and appreciate what you're doing.
Judge, let me
Yes, sir.
interject one comment.
Sure.
You mentioned the non-long pregnancy center, so they do provide a lot of services, but not the same as what you're doing, because I'm chairman of that board. But they can be a partner if you know, for the young mothers. We provide. There's a lot of choices of maternity clothes,
Right.
and then after the baby's born, if they decide to keep or whatever, or even the adoptive family can use our services. So you can always refer them.
Yes.
That's what I was.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, nothing else. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. I'm going to ask JR if you will share an update on the project that's been a long time coming. You've got an update about the 227 safety
Yes, sir,
project.
Judge, magistrates. Probably several years, 5 years ago, we started asking KYTC about some improvements on 227, and anybody that travels that know there are some not ideal curves, elevation of the curves, and it's a busy road. Sheriff also knows anytime it rains, there's numerous wrecks down there. So the KYTC has what's called a SHIFT program, and it's a strategic highway investment formula for tomorrow. They're going to use this money to do some safety improvements. The elevation of the curves is going to change. They're going to widen the shoulders, clean some vegetation out, and make it a lot safer. So that got started after numerous years. This week, they're doing survey and they're marking everything. I talked to the contractors yesterday, so that's happening after all these years. And every meeting Judge and myself goes to in Lexington, we always push for this and ask them where it's at. And thanks to his persistence and everything, it's finally happening, and it's greatly needed.
I appreciate it very much on that update, and I think it's it'll make that area much safer, no doubt.
We're always looking for improvements on 227.
Yeah.
I drive it every day, and it'll be a big help for the folks that travel that road.
No. So thank you. Any other comments there?
How long will it take to do what they're planning to do?
Probably 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to ask you all to look at your calendars for a potential, would Wednesday at 4 be a time that we could have one more budget work session? I just think it's appropriate. Is that not good for you, Ryan? What about everybody else?
I'm open.
Later in the day is better, correct?
It is.
Ryan, you think you could Zoom in?
possibly, just depends on what time.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'll be doing at that time.
Yeah. At 4 is a potential time.
Something you can do
Well,
it all.
I mean,
I'll be in California, so I'll be 4 hours behind.
You're 4 hours behind.
Or 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours.
So we do it 10 p.m.?
Yeah, oh, that'd be easy, yeah. You all just go ahead, I'll figure it out.
Let's tentatively, let me,
And I'm
Is that Wednesday?
away from what I'm doing.
oh, it is. What if we, what if we back that up till 5? Cam's just pointed out a conflict that might, I'll send an email out, but we're shooting for Wednesday, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but I'll send an email out. I just wanted to put that out so that I'd like to get us all back together just to talk. Jeff's been doing some work. Michelle's been doing a lot of work, and got some additional data that we can. And the budget committee met yesterday. I'm going to try to get the budget committee to meet Monday or Tuesday before we meet on Wednesday, and then try to start putting all this together. So that was one thing, and then I wanted Cam to speak on the towing conversation that we had. You got an update from Rich Ornstein.
It's an interesting call. So yeah, we had a discussion at the workshop last week, and basically the two discussions were, the request was, can we put something in the ordinance, one that gives a preference to Scott County businesses over outside businesses, meaning like if a business is licensed and or located in Scott County, they would get called before others on the list. And then the second question was, could we require a business who operates a towing service to have a lot, not necessarily for heavy wreckers, but for regular vehicles to have a lot located in Scott County? The second question, so I called Rich Ornstein. The second one he thought was fine. The first one, he said, it's interesting you called. I've gotten like 5 calls about this in the last 2 weeks, so there's something going around, he said. But he thinks that it violates what's called the Dormant Commerce Clause, which basically is a,
Interstate commerce.
Yeah, prohibition on inhibiting, interstate commerce, inhibiting companies from freely doing business, which is the purview of Congress to regulate. So he said, if you do that, he said he would strongly advise against doing that because he would think there would likely be a lawsuit coming on that. So I would not do that, but the second one's okay.
And coupled with that conversation, I was still because I never want to put us in a hole when we have bad weather, multiple issues, and then not being a priority for a company that does a lot of business and potential to help. So, I know the priority is to clear the roadway as quickly as possible, and just with that, I don't think it'd be wise for us to move forward with that piece. But the other piece we could amend, if that's the pleasure of the court. What I would like you all to direct us is, do you want us to bring that back to amend that for the local lot, for the light towing? Is that something you all want
Is
to bring?
there any downside
for
to that?
light towing?
I still don't know the point of it. Like what is it? What's it solving? Like
The light piece?
Yeah, like
or the lot piece, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
What problem exists now that this is going to solve?
Sheriff and Mike, y'all want to speak to that?
So, right now, as far as I know, all of the light-duty wreckers have lots in Scott County. We don't contract with anybody from surrounding counties except in dire emergencies. The 23rd of December 2022, when we were 11 hours out on a light-duty wrecker, we were calling people from Cynthiana and all kinds of places. But the request was made because if we have an impounded vehicle, sometimes that vehicle goes to Lexington or Richmond, wherever the big wrecker company has their lot. And I don't believe that amending this ordinance is going to change that particular problem, which is, it's not a problem unless a sheriff, deputy, or police officer has an issue with traveling to that location. So.
When we visited this ordinance, created it, essentially, we put a lot of thought into it and a lot of work into it. And honestly, we've not had any problems. I don't want to tie our hands on who we can use. I mean, when we need to get a road open, we need to get it open, period, especially the interstate. As far as storage, fatalities, we store them on county property, evidence. Vehicles we make felony arrest out of, we typically place them in a secure area that JR has, or we choose a lot to put it. So I just highly recommend we just keep doing what we're doing.
Sheriff, to piggyback off what you said, if you added that requirement that they had to have a lot in Scott County, do you think that would tie your hands, or could it?
I don't know that it's even been an issue.
Well, here's the question I have, and I brought this up last time, is, well, a couple things, and I'm not in that world, so I don't know, but if lots here are full, and we've got some ordinance, and we're trying to clear area out, where do we take that car? Oh, we can't take it to Lexington because we've got an ordinance that says it's got to stay here, so now you're parking in a parking lot somewhere. And that may never be an issue, I don't know, but the other part is just what you said. These businesses have their business, and they're doing business, and it's hard for us to.
Well, and honestly, there's plenty for everybody. I mean, we have more wrecks, it seems like, every year.
A lot of drives, so I mean.
And I mean, there's plenty, and we're very fair about it. We go by rotation, and
Well, how do you enforce that too? If we do make an ordinance and a car ends up in Lexington, is that a fine or penalty? I mean, there's any teeth in that ordinance?
I'm not going to pay it.
Exactly.
Is our rotation, is it just local services?
Well, so small wreckers, pretty much.
100%.
Yeah. So on the big wreckers, there's Roberts, Candido's, and now Finley's just recently bought a big wrecker, and that's great. They're local, and he has a local lot. He put a lot of money and time into that. But there are times where you might need 2 large wreckers on a bad enough wreck, such as we had out there.
Do we require those big wreckers to have business licensing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we require insurance. I think that's is it in the?
I think it is, Tony, but I have to read it. But yeah, I think all that stuff's required in there.
And it boils down to when someone wants to get on the list, they come to the police chief, Georgetown City Chief.
I kind of agree with what you said at the beginning. You know, when we revised this last summer, the idea was to give you all the flexibility and discretion to be able to call who you needed to call and respond to these things. And I wouldn't want to do anything.
Yeah, somebody said it's going to be 45.
Take that away.
Yeah, somebody says it's going to be 45 minutes. And another one can do it in 20. And we're in a pinch. I mean, a lot of times a wreck will cause a wreck. That'll cause a wreck, just as we saw where a deputy sheriff was hit by his Tahoe as long as one of his employees was hit by that Tahoe. So,
yeah.
So back on the business license question, there was a question about a large record company having one, and that they are registered, but it might be a good thing that, you know, if new companies come in and want on the registration, we need to make sure they're registered with the Revenue Commission for a business license. So, and that's something that I think we can do without amending.
Yeah, I don't think we have to amend the ordinance. You can just say, hey, you got to have a business license. We can put it in the ordinance.
I don't know. I mean, on those real bad days, like Ice Day, whatever, we don't care if they got a business license.
I mean, that's a good, yeah, well, that's,
you're right.
But,
You're going to call it.
no, 1,000 times, yes, but just on the general, if somebody calls and says, hey, I want in on the
I
rotation.
just don't want to handcuff them.
Yeah, no, and you're right. You're 100% right.
364 days out of the year, everything's smooth, right? I don't think we should make an ordinance for.
2 Christmases ago, when the interstate was complete ice and there was like 16 of us out there, we couldn't get enough wreckers.
Yeah, but I don't know that we should create an ordinance for 1 day every 2 years.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think so.
just then call whoever you need. Just start calling.
So with that said, I have no other new business. Does any magistrate have any new business, or anyone from the audience? Yes, sir.
Quick question. I got a call a week or so ago now about 460 headed towards Paris. Their concern was apparently there was a fatality out there coming out from that side street beside Fat Cats, and they were wondering. They were talking about a stoplight, and I said, well, that's a big process. But also, are there some improvements in the,
I don't know of any improvements on that 460 project up that way. I don't.
yet?
Yeah.
I mean, eventually they're still over in Bourbon County, right?
Oh, yeah, they're still in Bourbon, and they're just doing right-of-way and utility work in Scott County right now.
So, right. So it'll, if something's coming, it's a while away.
There was an accident at that intersection.
I think they were pulling out from that, I can't remember the name of the street that's beside.
I know where you're talking about.
The Fat Cat's pizza place. And of course, there's more apartments and housing back in there now, even just coming online, I think.
Yeah.
Looks like they're developing where the old motel was.
Yeah.
So they were asking a question about, a concern about that pulling out there.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that the guy was trying to turn left. What's that?
They're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
Traffic study. It's the data.
Did we draft a resolution for, speaking of traffic stuff, like the Roll King and the Lesby Path?
So I've spoken with Devin Golden, and the plan is to have a piece of document, a request for like what you're talking about. You just haven't done it yet.
Would that be?
We could add that to it
in the
to look at it.
City limits. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Part of it. So
but we could ask them to look at it.
I mean, there's a lot of folks living in there, and more coming. I think.
Yeah. So we'll add that to that list. Any other?
Judge, you want to say anything about Georgetown College?
Oh, that was fantastic news. Georgetown College made a big announcement. There's so much important part of the community, and from their fundraising efforts to eliminate bonded debt, long-term bonded debt, they were able to raise $28.5 million, and $16 million was from one single donor. Kelly Corman, thank you.
That was really nice of you.
But no, it's huge for the college and huge for the community. Yeah. So anything else? If not, then would there be a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second, Kelly.
Yeah, I was distracting him.
All those in favor, we are adjourned.